The Bookshelf with me, Ryan Tubridy, is brought to you by Ballymore. Founded by Sean Mulryan in 1982, Ballymore has long put arts and culture at the heart of what it does, from supporting artists and performers to weaving creativity into the neighbourhoods it builds. Alongside this cultural commitment, Ballymore creates places with soul. Its international portfolio is filled with award-winning workspaces, homes, shopping centres and entire neighbourhoods across Dublin, London, Bratislava, Prague and Berlin. Places where design, innovation and creativity come together and where people can live, work and play. Welcome, and today on The Bookshelf we are joined by one of Ireland's most celebrated writers, Mr. Colm Tóibín, who is known for his acclaimed novels such as Brooklyn and The Master. Colm's work has touched readers around the world with its emotional depth and precise and perfect precision. But today we're turning the page on his own writing to hear about the stories that shaped him, his favourite childhood book, the book that brought him joy, and the book that changed his life. Colm Tóibín, welcome to The Bookshelf.
Hey, thank you very much.
It's good to see you.
Here I am.
When you're here doing a chat like this, I want people to make sure that they realise that while you are a man of letters and a man of great intellect, in my few meetings with you and encounters with you, you are kind of an overgrown child. Am I right?
I should hope so, yeah.
What is that?
I mean, I think that becoming pompous in middle age, especially in Ireland, if you think about all the lawyers, the judges, the politicians, the people you've worked with in, or the authorities, and every type of authority in Ireland are filled with men who became really dull really early in their lives and just sit there and having to go to the pub or you're at dinner and there's a man beside you and a man the other side of you. Oh my God, they don't even get the jokes, you know. I mean, I go to faculty meetings at Columbia University, and one of the problems is no one will give me eye contact because they know if they do for 1 second, it's a long table, people droning on about the curriculum and the students and grades and the grades. This year we have to be very tough on grades. I just think, shut up. But they know if they catch my eye, I'll wink at them. Meaning we're all chancellors here. And they don't feel like chancellors. And they all have PhDs and stuff. And
there is that moment, isn't there, in life when the mood dictates seriousness. But some people, I think we might be birds of a feather in that regard, just go, this is ludicrous. Yeah. And as you say, you catch that eye of the other person. Because if there's a like-minded soul in the room, and the eye's caught. It happens at funerals. It happens when somebody's being really, as you say, pompous. Yeah. And we let go. And you're not allowed to laugh. The greatest laughter of all time is the one that you're probably not meant to be doing.
I used to have it in school where there was a priest called Father Keogh, and he was very nice, and he used to give us sermons on boys, don't laugh at other boys. Laugh with them.
Yeah.
Just the idea. The idea that we couldn't laugh at other boys. Yeah. Sure, I mean, what? The whole point of the school was that you found people. But in a school, it was good. It was so solemn, the boys' confraternity. You're probably too posh to have gone to boys' confraternity.
Go on.
But boys' confraternity in Scorthy Cathedral was where Father Scallon, who had a very booming voice, and he used a microphone as well, would bring the lights down and say, "Death comes soon, and judgment will follow. So now, dear boys, examine your conscience and find out your sins." I never laughed at that.
No, that's pretty bleak, isn't it?
And you were the holier you were, the more you put your head down, and you did something with your chest like this. You put your fist up against your chest. Holy, holy, holy for some, I don't know what. Yeah. But that was very solemn. There's some things you can't laugh at.
I thought you were going to burst into laughter at that, but you actually went quite serious.
No, he got me on that.
You got a chill down your spine.
He got me.
He got you on that one. So that was a laughter-free, laughter-proof.
Yeah, they have to really work on the theatrics of it to stop you laughing. Yeah.
Take us to your childhood home, and who's in the house and what's happening. You say you're about 6 or 7.
I've been writing recently about, it isn't published yet, but it's coming out next year, about George Harrison, who you will know all about.
Beatles.
And he's the fourth in a family of 4. And that's really important because it meant that he had the music of an earlier generation as though it was his. So when he's 6 or 7 in the house, his brothers are listening to all sorts of things from America. And he's paying attention very early in his life to this.
He's got rock and roll. He's
got all that
Elvis
American blues stuff.
Yeah.
No,
going back before
Elvis,
pre-50s,
Yeah. And I was thinking about being the fourth in a family.
Okay.
And so I'm the fourth in a family. And the fourth in the family means that there's always someone to interpret things for you. Such as, for example, if a comic arrives and you really want to know what's happening in the comic. And I was as interested, I don't know if it was incipient homosexuality or anything, but I was as interested in the Judy and the Four Marys and all that sort of, and the Bunty, as I was in the Hotspur or the other ones. I was interested in all comics, but I couldn't read.
Yes.
And my sister would read for me. And what she would do, you see, she'd read, and I would know where she was by the,
by the picture.
What the image was. But then she'd turn the page too quickly.
Yeah.
Yes. And so she read for me, and I obviously saw no reason to read myself. I didn't like teachers, and I couldn't really listen to them. There was a fellow called Tommy Brick, and he used to shout, "Christ," he was from Kerry. A lot of them were from Kerry. And he said, "Christ almighty, you drive me up the walls." He'd say that in the middle of the whole classroom. He'd go like this, "Christ almighty, you drive me up the walls." She couldn't listen.
How old would you have been at that
I was
stage?
7.
Oh, that stays with you.
7.
It's extraordinary.
And no one in Enniscorthy has ever forgotten that. I mean, in other words, if I could find you 100 people in Enniscorthy who would be able to do that imitation instantly.
Isn't
and
that
then even
amazing?
you just go with the gesture, "Great," and everyone would be able to finish it for you. And he was a great bridge player. He was a very nice man, and he lived in Diggs. In Hayes's in Court Street, and he would say that. Now, I couldn't be listening to, like, he'd be going on the blackboard about something, but I wouldn't ever listen. And I'd just be thinking about, I don't know what I was thinking about, but I didn't really learn to read until it was a bit embarrassing. And luckily, my parents didn't know enough about child psychology to know that I should have been sent to someone in Dublin.
Yes.
I did get sent to someone in Dublin about my stutter.
Yes.
But I didn't stutter much that day. I obviously felt at ease with her. So she said I didn't have a stutter. Maybe I had a clutter, which of course has no scientific, there's no such thing as a clutter. These doctors. And so I came home, my mother said, "You don't have a stutter, you have a clutter." Oh, I didn't know what that was. But anyway.
And was the stutter profound?
Yeah. There were fellas who would follow me home and stuff. But
they'd be at you.
But I wish I could tell you I was damaged for life, and but I wasn't. It was just fine.
Yeah.
And my younger brother was notoriously clever, and he was brilliant in school. He always got A's and everything.
Yeah.
And he was 4 years younger than me. Now just imagine this. So I'm, say, 8, and he's 4. And he's reading, and I'm sort of sitting there, I suppose they would call you retarded or something, but they didn't know enough to know there was any name for it.
What was it?
I just learned to read late. Just leave me alone.
You wasn't dyslexia? It wasn't anything?
No, not dyslexic or anything.
It was just late.
They just thought, but it wasn't they decided to leave me alone. They just sort of thought I was okay and leave, there wasn't any... There wasn't any doctor you could take me to. I didn't have the flu or anything.
But did the teachers put you at the back of the class? Did they refer to you as maybe being a bit dim or simple?
Yeah, I think, there was a teacher who stopped my mother and said, "Well, sure, Colm's no good."
Wow.
And, but honestly, I wish I could tell you that I was a shivering wreck or something.
No.
But anyway, I did eventually learn to read. And by that time, luckily, all those children's books were I didn't have to do Biggles or all that rubbish. I didn't have to do the famous 5 or the famous 4 or name me some other stuff.
The Secret 7.
Secret 7. Any of that rubbish I didn't have to do.
All that sort of kind of very English.
William.
Just William.
Yeah. But I found Agatha Christie.
At the age of?
I suppose at the age of maybe 10.
Yeah. Early.
And you see, they'd never bothered me when I was reading anything. So I read Jean Plaidy. Did you ever read her?
No.
Jean Plaidy wrote really brilliant novels, well before Hilary Mantel. She wrote brilliant novels about the Tudors.
Right.
And so I became obsessed with the Tudors, say, age 10 or 11. And including a marvellous book called The Captive Queen of Scots.
Wow.
And another wonderful book called The Royal Road to Fotheringay.
Yes.
Which was where Mary Queen of Scots was finally executed. And it's a marvellous scene where some lowly person in the house, this big house in the north of England, looks through a keyhole because a man has come from London with a big suitcase. And out of the suitcase, he took an axe. And you realise that Mary Queen of Scots is going to be executed. Now, this was marvellous stuff, and I became really engaged with it.
Is it not a big leap to go from I can't read to Tudor England?
Yeah, it was absolutely great.
It was massive.
And then the Agatha Christie book that really, really excited me was a novel called 450 from Paddington.
So are we going to your first book choice of the day then? This is the book from your childhood.
Agatha Christie.
I
450
love it. I'm
from
surprised
Paddington.
to hear this, but I'm thrilled.
And it's an absolutely marvellous book. And Miss Marple
Yes.
And of course, it was easy to understand Miss Marple because Enniscorthy was filled with people like that, except there hadn't been any murders. If there were murders, there would be Miss Marple. Now, how she finally realises who did this murder was that she saw the murder, Miss Marple. She was going on a train, and another train stopped, and the two trains went opposite each other. It's everyone's, and she looked in the other side, and a man with his back to the window was choking a woman to death. Now, Miss Marple realised later who it was, but she couldn't be sure. So she organised a dinner where she pretended...
So good.
Let me see. She asked someone to pretend to choke or something. So the man she suspected of the murder had to help the woman by putting his hands on her neck and looking at his frame from the back.
Yes.
And his hands where they were. Miss Marple realised immediately, it is he.
Wow.
And there's really some sensational writing in the book. I mean, really, a lot of novelists could learn things from it. For example, there's a Dr. Quimper who, in Agatha Christie will always be evil in some way. So, yes, Miss Marple said, she saw you and she recognises you and she'll swear to it in court. It's not often, I believe, went on Miss Marple in her gentle, plaintive voice, that anyone actually sees a murder committed. It's usually circumstantial evidence, of course, but in this case, the conditions were very unusual. There was actually an eyewitness to murder, who's Miss Marple herself. Yeah. And then Dr. Quimper says, you devilish old hag. Which, of course, if you're, a tennis, he lunged forward at Miss Marple. Can you imagine he lunged forward at Miss Marple?
Yeah, and she's
but
small.
This time it was Cedric, good Cedric, who caught him by the shoulder. So you're the murdering devil, are you? Said Cedric as he swung him around. I never liked you for a murder. And I always thought you were a wrong un. But Lord knows I never suspected you. Why should I want to murder a perfectly strange woman, said Dr. Quimper. She wasn't a strange woman, said Inspector Craddock. She was your wife.
Yes.
And so it goes on. But and Miss Marple then, opening the next chapter says, so you see, said Miss Marple, it really turned out to be, as I began to suspect, very, very simple. Very, very simple. The simplest kind of crime. So many men seem to murder their wives.
Yeah.
So many men seem to murder their wives. And of course, there's nothing gives you more pleasure in a small house in the town of Enniscorthy than the idea that all these murders are happening and all these witnesses, and Miss Marple is at the very centre, and she knows everything.
Isn't that? It was so beautifully read, by the way. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you. If you ever need,
it was like Jack and Ori. It was like I was really enjoying it. I was completely entranced. But tell me, because I think with Agatha Christie, and it's not that this is sneery but maybe it's a bit snobbish. Kind of, it's just Agatha Christie. But I sense a sincere respect for her. Are you having a sort of? Are you laughing with or at? I'm not quite sure.
She's very good at a sort of stylized dialogue. She's very good at plot, and she's very good at moving things along. Now. Obviously, it all depends on an unlikely murder, and did the bishop do it, or did the rector do it? But I have to say, I read all of them in those years when I was certainly before I was 13 or 14. I had read all of Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
And nothing but pleasure. And I never, ever once guessed who it was. Yeah. I always followed her if she said that because she's very good at making you feel for a while that the doctor did it.
Yes.
And then you think, the doctor did it. And then you realize, no, it was somebody, the gardener. And I always got fooled by her. So that gave me nothing but pleasure.
You got banged for your book. I mean,
I did. And I never found any. I tried Edgar Wallace. I tried various other people, but I never got anything like the same. And I never liked Poirot as much as I liked Mrs. Marple. Yeah. Sorry, Miss Marple. And
in the house, you've mentioned siblings and mum and dad. Take us through a little bit of that, because there was...
there was always a problem about books. There is a problem in general about books, which is that eventually everyone who has books, they have too many books.
Yeah.
And the problem about marriage and love is that it often doesn't, the books don't survive. In other words, my father would go to Dublin and my mother would say, what? Oh, we have enough books.
Yeah.
Now, she bought her own books, and her books were kept away from his books because her books were poetry.
Right.
And his books were history.
Yes.
And obviously, people should, maybe it's a good way for a marriage. Poetry marries history.
Perfect.
But, she tended later on to use the library. But my father died in 1967, leaving a lot of books. And even in his father's house, and they would have had no money, but they would have always had books, and it would be, books books were really important.
What did your folks do for a living?
My father was a teacher. My father was a secondary teacher.
And your mother was?
My mother left school at 14,
Okay.
which meant that she had a huge reverence for learning and books, and it really mattered to her. Anyone who knew something, whoever came to the house, she would pay enormous attention to them on the basis that this was what she'd really wanted from her life. And she became a great reader.
And your father, sorry, how old were you when your father passed away?
I was 12.
You were 12.
Yeah.
And I'm just supposed having that in the house, a teacher dad and a mum, there's just a theme about people who leave school or the education system early from a certain generation. I always feel there's a certain sadness to that, because a lot of these people left because of circumstances, but with a lifelong hunger. Yeah. A real hunger for more. And I always think that we lost a generation maybe of very accomplished people who just didn't get to that third level.
I think that was absolutely true with my mother. But later on in life, I mean, I suppose after the age of about 50, using the public library, I mean, the library in Enniscorthy, there was nothing she wasn't reading then. And of course, when I began to write, I posed a certain problem because she thought my writing was too slow. You know, that the action, there wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And she found Saul Bellow.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it wasn't as though she was finding thrillers. She was very grand in that sort of way. She wasn't reading thrillers, you know. She was reading Philip Larkin. She was reading Saul Bellow. She was reading Wallace Stevens. But she said to me, I love Saul Bellow. His books are so smart.
Wow.
And she looked at me meaning, yours are not. I mean, that yours are not filled with.
Come on.
No, yeah, oh yeah. And she said, she said, I don't like novels in which things move just too slowly and sort of, you don't know what. And I realised what this meant, you know, that she was trying to be nice, but saying, I just can't read you, you know, you just go away.
Wow.
And I sort of loved that.
I know,
it's
very honest. I'm sure that changed with time.
Not that much.
Really? What do you think she would have been had she got into the world of university, academia, wherever it might have been?
Yeah, she could have run the country. And her sisters were the same. I mean, they all could have run the country.
That's smart, natural, smart, book smart, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And beautiful handwriting.
Really?
Did you have that in the older generation?
I've seen it always in the older generation.
You know, parents and grandparents, beautiful and personal, meaning that it was, a letter from Auntie Maeve or a letter from Auntie Harriet. You'd know what it was.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And my father had unreadable handwriting. Only people who've been to, who've been to university and done all that didn't bother, just his handwriting. My uncle was the same.
Isn't it funny? Less studied.
Less having to bother, you know.
Do you remember the day your dad died?
Oh, yeah.
And what happened?
Well, some of them were not in the house that night. My mother and we were all there, and we realised, I think, that they didn't come home at all from the hospital.
Yeah. So
that was very unusual. And then the next day, word came that he was dead.
And do you want me asking you how he died?
It's hard to know. I think he had a heart attack and a brain. It was all that sort of. He was 53.
Oh, good Lord!
Yeah.
Crikey!
Yeah.
And you're gathered that morning. I mean, as a writer, you probably have a very vivid recollection of that.
I mean, a Christian brother came. My father taught in a Christian brother school and came up and didn't know. So by noon, a Christian brother arrives, all jolly and pleasant and trying to say, and eventually says, "So how are things?" And my mother said, well, he's dead. He died last night. That was a funny moment because he thought, how odd. Yeah. And then the other thing was, stop. There was a conversation between a neighbour and an aunt over graves. Now, in Enniscorthy, you see, Dublin people don't get this as much.
No, we don't. Go on.
Where you'd know where everyone's buried. You see, and some graves have room for only 3. Right. And some graves have room for 5.
Right.
And this is known by everybody who is in what grave and who's destined to what grave. For what grave. And so a new grave was going to have to be created because the other grave had 3 people in it, but there were 2 destined for it. Their names were on the grave, as it were.
Yeah.
Who were still alive, but they were going to be buried there. The other grandmother, yes, she was there. There was room there, but no, because 2 other people were going there. So, a new grave was going to be created, and they were decided to splash out. I mean, this is really, and get a grave for 5. And obviously, my father was going there, and then they began to talk about this in my aunt and this is the laughter thing we were talking about, where we fell out of the room because they were going through not only us, I mean the children, but the next generation after us, the unborn, as they used to call it in Ireland. the life of, speaking of, some of those bishops, and we were delighted because the unborn were being invoked.
Yeah.
The unheard of, the next, and where they might be buried.
Wow.
And
this was on the day of your dad's, the day after.
This is the morning. Like he died at night, and this is the morning.
Wow.
This is happening. That practical business of organising things, of how things will be going into the future.
Wow. Is that a way of just not confronting the obvious and just planning your pain away?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
So now you found yourself in the house with just your mum and your 3 siblings, and
no. The others were. You see, the others were away.
Oh, they were gone.
So what happens is that my mother is there, and my younger brother and me.
Okay.
And my sisters are at university or at school, and so really, when September comes, I go into the school where I go to secondary school for the first time.
Yes.
Meaning I go into the classrooms where he taught.
Wow.
I am taught by his colleagues. I am in the very building. You see, I would have come over a lot. Things were much laxer from the primary school to the secondary school to find my father at the end of the day.
Did you?
And I would know what day of the week he would be in what class. Like a dog almost. Would be able to work your way up the corridors. And I would sit at the back and just wait till he was finished. And now I'm in those classrooms, So but of course, no one talked about this, and it was surrounded by silence, and it wasn't.
No one said,
no
this
one
might
knew
be a
what
bit
to say.
awkward for you, Colm.
No one knew what to say.
No one knew.
And if they did, it was awful because they'd try and say something to you, and it was embarrassing. Yeah. I'm sorry for your trouble. I said, oh my God, shut up.
At what point?
I didn't feel very warmly towards that place or the teachers or anyone really at all. Just that I just wanted this day to be over so I could, get away from, It just was a bad time because you had no language for it. You had no concept of it. There was no one you could talk to about it. But there was nothing to say anyway if you wanted to talk to someone. I mean, what could you say?
What age were you when you first thought you knew what you wanted to be when you grew up? I'm not talking about writing necessarily.
Yeah, but it was writing.
Was it always writing?
I mean, it was when I was, you see, that September, in our house, what you're meant to do when you're 12 and you go to secondary school is you go into a room on your own every evening. And you can even use the electric fire, which was, really now not 2 bars, 1 bar. And you could, and you were meant to study. And it was presumed that's what you were doing. I mean, there was absolute trust that you were in there studying. I mean,
No.
I mean, how to make methane gas. Have you ever made methane gas?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, but like the amount of trouble I got into over, like you have to draw all the crucibles and how the methane gas would come and how you would add this to this and anyway. So I wrote poetry. Yeah, I really wrote poetry every evening. And that's what I did. I wrote poetry.
And what inspired you? Was it the everyday?
Anything at all would come up. I would write a poem about. And I was started to read a lot of poetry really seriously. I mean, really precociously, with no clue as to what was important or not. I mean, not just reading Yeats or anything. I was going through anthologies. I was finding things I really liked. Yes. And there's one poem. See, the problem is I sent all these poems to a magazine called IRIG, which was run by the Capuchin Order. And they were terribly nice to me. They printed some of them and sent me postal orders. And then they also wrote to me about some of them, that maybe they could be shorter.
Okay.
And all of that correspondence, it seems, is in an archive owned by the Capuchins. It's down at the Quays somewhere.
That's my next question.
I'd love to get into in Dublin.
In Dublin?
No, this was Dublin.
And have you got access?
Well, I suppose anyone can go in.
Of course you can.
No, they wrote to me very politely saying, our archive is now going up and something, and all your stuff is there.
Wow.
But I didn't.
Your early days poetry now. How interesting would it be?
13, 14. It's embarrassing. Would you stop it?
No, but
I don't know why I'm telling you this.
No.
Why am I telling you
because
this?
I'm now Mr. Marple. Yeah. I'm going to go down and investigate.
I should go with Tipex.
That's a Tipex. Let's go to the book that brought you joy. I'm just curious, Colm Tóibín, you've got some beautiful looking hard copy books here in front of us and others besides, but the joy, where is it coming from? Because you see, you're a giddy guy. You have a really, really wicked sense of humour, and you're very quick to a smile and a laugh, which is great. And people reading your books, depending on which book, might or might not notice that or see it or whatever. Yeah. So why don't you take us to the joy?
We're back with the Beatles, that John Lennon gave a marvellous definition of himself, which also applies to me. I was delighted when I read it.
Go on.
He said, I'm a monk and I'm a performing flea.
Wow. Wow.
So that's me.
That's
I'm
great.
a monk, meaning I can go into a room for days without talking, and then I'm a performing flea.
You want
just now, watch me. I'm a performing flea.
You want everyone to look at you
but
and
that
laugh.
doesn't mean that later on tonight I will become a monk. So that's it.
So I can be an introvert, I can be an extrovert, I can work both lanes.
And at one stage when I was being treated by Ivor Brown for various things.
He's a psychiatrist.
I said I'd love to have an integrated personality. I didn't mean it, of course.
Yeah.
And he said, which would you like to be? And I said, I don't know. He said, would you go away? And one of the things that has lightened my middle age and is beginning to lighten my old age is Ulysses by James Joyce.
Yes.
And I have a few essays in this on Joyce. I mean, I came to the book late.
This being Ship in Full Sail, by the way, I want to give it a reference.
I came to the book late. In other words, I had read, like a lot of people, episodes.
Yeah.
But I had not actually studied the book. And there's a moment when I'm a professor. I mean, I'm teaching young people, and I do curriculum every year. And one of my colleagues at Columbia said to me, this is about 10 years ago, in Irish studies, the only game in town is Ulysses.
Right.
Meaning you can put together a curriculum of Lady Gregory and Sing, and you can have, loads of contemporary stuff. And you can do Dubliners. But if you're not teaching Ulysses, you're sort of on the margins. Really? Even like Irish studies is on the margins of general literary studies.
Anyway.
We don't like to think this, but it's true. And then on the margins of that are, that if you're not teaching Ulysses, you're sort of nobody.
Yeah.
So I decided, just a single remark, thought, actually, I'm going to start on this.
Yeah.
Because I know the background, and I'm going to actually start reading everything. So I had lovely time. There's a lot of really good, Who Killed James Joyce? There's a lot of really good stuff being written about Joyce now.
Yes.
By a contemporary generation of critics. And it's lovely when they write episode by episode. So instead of writing the overall meaning of Ulysses or something, they just take you what each episode does. And
Which
in
might
other words, if you're having trouble with the book, Ulysses.
Which a lot of people would.
Yeah, you forget that. Stop having trouble with it. And you say it's 18 episodes.
Yeah.
And you don't read the book, you read the 18 episodes. And you say, for every month from now on, or from Christmas, for the next 18 months, I will actually read an episode of Ulysses.
Okay, so
one a month.
Don't watch the movie, watch the Netflix series.
Yeah.
Are we right?
Yeah, exactly.
And take it in bites.
Take it in time and take it in bites. Exactly like very good, very well said.
Thank you.
And you'd be good in the class.
I'd be a good student. Someday.
And this has given me immense pleasure.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of new characters that have come into my life, like Sam Sloat.
Yeah.
He teaches in Trinity, and he's just done this massive annotation to Ulysses.
Yes.
Which in itself is a kind of novel.
It's amazing.
And there's so many really, obviously Richard Ellman's book was a groundbreaking book, the big biography of Joyce.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, since then, people have started to really work on funny little things that are happening in episodes. Now, in Sam Sloat's book, I get one. If you discovered something in Ulysses, discovered a reference,
yes,
you get your name in brackets. Like it's a big deal.
Yeah, of course.
And I was minding my own business one night, and I was rereading the Cyclops episode. And there's a big parody. Joyce thought things were funny that are not funny.
Yes.
We know, we all as good Irish nationalists coming from good Fianna Fáil families, know that the execution of Robert Emmet is not a joke.
Yes.
It's a very sad
and not
business.
to be laughed at or about.
The trouble is over. The boys are defeated. Ireland's surrounded with sadness and gloom. We are defeated and shamefully treated. And I, Robert Emmet, awaiting my doom.
Yeah.
Now, in Ulysses, this is made fun of. He makes it into a sort of garden party, and he lists all the people who were there. It's like a society wedding, with Emmet at the very centre. But he has the person who comes to execute Emmet as being called Tomkin Tomlinson Maxwell French Mullen. He has four barrels,
names. All barrels.
Just think about it. Tomlinson, Tompkins. Well, they're just names we think of in relation to British. There could be anyone British, right? Maxwell.
He was in charge of the Irish Army in 1916. Am I right in saying that in the war of the Easter Rising? He was at the in O'Connell Street. Am I right, General Maxwell?
Sir John Maxwell signed. He signed the execution warrants.
Okay,
he was sent over by the British to put this execution down.
Jesus, I can't handle this pressure.
He's responsible.
Yeah, for the executions. Yeah,
and the British had to get him out of Ireland because he was killing them all, and therefore killing the. Exactly. And even at the time. Yeah. Now, Joyce is writing this in 1919.
Yes.
It's set in 1904. He obviously can't, but it's a sly reference.
It is a sly reference. So you discovered that?
I was reading it and thought, Maxwell.
Yeah.
See, so many of the critics are American.
Yeah, they miss that nuance.
But they could miss tiny little things.
Yeah, that's a great discovery.
I'm delighted. I'm really proud. And Sam Slow put in his book.
Oh, I can see the joy in your face.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the nerdiest joy I think I've ever heard.
It's my claim to fame.
It's a great claim.
But what I'm saying is that if you go into any library now and just get, first of all, there's a marvellous book Penguin has published by Terence Killeen called Ulysses Unbound.
Yes.
And he takes you through it episode by episode, where he really, because he was a sub-editor in a newspaper, he knows how to write clearly.
Yes.
And because he's been a Joyce scholar all his life, he knows the material inside out. So he doesn't make it less complex than it is.
Okay.
I'm going back in January to teach, and I promise you, I'm really, really looking forward.
I can't.
And what's great about you get guys in the class that you might not get if you were doing a class called Irish Writing 1900 to 1950. In other words, it's a big boy book.
Yeah,
Ulysses is a big boy book.
Yeah.
So you can get a guy who's otherwise doing mathematics or who's top in physics, and he wants to get into this class because this for him is like Thomas Pynchon or something.
Like a literary conundrum to be analysed.
And it's marvellous having someone like that.
Yes.
And you get people, some people have incredible memories.
Yeah.
So if you get Nosy Flynn mentioned, you can say to someone, Nosy Flynn.
Where are we going with that?
Nosy Flynn appeared. And also some of the characters from Dubliners appear in this.
So it's a quiz of some sort. I love that.
I promise you, if you're anyway literate, and also you don't have to be like you could be a bloke. I know blokes don't read and they just sort of sit there and they bore each other badly and they watch television, and they sit there in the evening, glowering at everyone. Look, if you want to lift your life out of itself and you don't want to go for religion, you don't want to do religion.
Yeah. Move on.
And golf has hurt your back in some way. Like, I promise you, this will keep you going for years. And Joyce said that, the book would keep scholars, but I think it would keep readers going for years. And it was this infinite pleasure to be had from it.
So let's go back to Enniscorthy for a minute, and we'll get you into your teens and beyond. And I want to get to the book that changed your life, actually, Colm, because I'm not sure where you went after school in terms of where you wanted to be and where did you go. You're also discovering yourself and who you were and who you liked and who you fancied. And was that all happening at the same time, or was this process? Give me a sense.
Yeah,
of that.
It was. I was in St. Peter's College in Wexford, which was it was a tremendously good school for me. I mean, it obviously wasn't for other people. It became a notorious place.
Yeah.
But anyway, I went to UCD to do an arts degree, and I loved UCD. I loved Belfield. I just didn't know that maybe you shouldn't love Belfield. I just loved it from the minute I saw it.
Yeah.
And I had a marvellous time there. I did a lot of drinking. See, I think not taking drugs has always been great for me because I never even smoked dope.
Yeah.
I just thought,
I know.
Deliberately making yourself stupid.
Yeah.
See, drinking is great because you just think maybe you're thirsty. Maybe you're thirsty.
Yeah, but it made you. I just thought I was very much the same in the same university, different time, obviously. But at the bar and the bar culture and it's the library, the bar,
and the hatred of the commerce students. I don't know if you felt that. You obviously maybe you shouldn't say you did. But if you were on the arts block, had commerce students, and they were going to be accountants. Obviously, they become very useful in later years. I love them now, but there was a big difference between the art students and the commerce students, and there was a big difference. I presume you were history.
History.
I was history.
And Greek and Roman civilization and politics. Yeah.
Right. Well, I did history and English.
Oh, history and English,
which
perfect.
is a big
Lovely
difference. See, English and philosophy were dope smokers, and they were deep, and were very deep.
I agree.
And then, but you see,
and the others were boozers.
I was the only person from my school doing arts in that year. But if you think about that, the number of people who came from, say,
the school I came
schools
from,
like Gonzaga or Belvedere or even Joey's, or there was a whole sense of what school you were in, but no one luckily had ever heard of my school, so they couldn't, they just presumed you were some country Egypt, which I was. And so I had a marvellous time in Dublin, and the first summer, so I'm 17, I'm just 18, I get a summer job in the public record office, cataloguing the 1901 census.
Wow.
And they've taken in 12 history students. You had to apply and you were interviewed, and then I got this job. So suddenly I was working in Dublin as though I was a clerk, as though I was going to work and coming out and having Fridays and the normal where are you going to have your lunch and all that stuff. And the second of those summers, so I'm 19 now, is I don't get this job again, but I get a job in Wexford County Council. Now, this is about to become important because I've just written an opera set in the motor taxation office of Wexford County Council.
Of course you have, yeah.
I worked in the... No, I really have.
No, I know this.
really
I can't wait. I just love this.
And I worked for that summer in the motor taxation office of Wexford County Council. And all of them working there were local people. And Miss Hoare, who ran the place, took a very, very strong line on me in that I was the student, because I was a student. And obviously I was capable of making phone calls on someone's phone to Dublin, or I was making jokes. I was to be watched at all times, by her especially. And her job, what she wanted me to do was to file for every single car in County Wexford. That's the way it used to be. And every single car had a file. But if a file was mislaid, that was a disaster because it could never be taxed again. Like, how would you know what it was? So my job was to go through every single file, making sure they were in order for the whole summer with the dust and the dirt and the boredom. And anyway, but for some reason, I really enjoyed it. And every evening, that's the summer of 1974, I came home to the house in Enniscorthy, and that summer I read Portrait of a Lady by Henry James. I have it here in 2 volumes.
The book that changed your life.
Yeah. In other words, here you are. You think, surely I would want to read something about Catholicism or about rural life or about Ireland or about, I should be reading history or whatever it was. I took up this book. It wasn't on a curriculum. It wasn't on a course. It was nothing, no reason.
Can you remember why? Why this one? No, it
in
just
the
landed.
same way as anyone who's a reader knows.
Yeah.
You often just pick up a book
Random.
and often it's a complete bore and you don't remember it at all.
That's right.
But every so often something comes and you don't know why. And what's curious about it is, it's very well written, but it wasn't that interested me as much as it had a character who was, and you see, I wouldn't have been able to put words on that then. I can now, which is that he's using a system called third person intimate, which is that it's told from her, it's Isabel Archer and it's her point of view. So everything that's known, seen, remembered, felt is her. It's not I. She doesn't say I went. The novel says she went, she saw, but it's very close in. It's using her mind all the time as the lens. Yeah. And you become, theoretically, the theory of this is that if you do that enough and you do it with enough detail, the reader will, in turning the page, begin to feel that you too are inside the mind, or that you are this person almost, or that you can begin to feel what this person's feeling, or begin to worry that something is going to occur now that this person might not notice clearly enough. And so that can come across, if it's done right, with enormous feeling, because you're in this person's life at a moment of pure crisis in their lives, and you're living the crisis. And I thought it was, you see, if you're living in a small town, more or less everyone is who they say they are. It'd be very hard to disguise something about your own identity. Your parents, who they were or something in a small town, because everyone really is at that time in Enniscorthy, everyone more or less in Enniscorthy, except people working in the bank, or the guards, were born in the town, and their parents had been born in the town. So you had a whole sense of who people were. This was very interesting because it gave you a feel that surely if she begins to trust these people she's meeting, who are very stylish, grand people, she has a right to trust them. And then you slowly realize, no, she doesn't. She's being fooled. She's being, in fact, she's really the victim of a sort of conspiracy to get her money from her. Mm. And her money only came to her by accident. And you realize it was the money they wanted. Mm. And honestly, it was almost like the Agatha Christie, except it's been now brought into style, into a very careful sort of psychology, into slow thinking about things. There's one night towards the end of the book where Isabel Archer, who's the heroine of the book, sits up all night in this house in Rome, and nothing occurs, obviously, but as she thinks, the reader thinks, and as she realizes something, the reader realizes it too, that she has come into a room the day before, and she has seen her husband sitting languidly in an armchair, and his old friend, Madame Merle, a woman, is standing at the fireplace. Now, this is meant to be 1880. And a woman is standing, and he's sitting, and they seem languidly talking. So, something about them. Yeah. Something. And you see, you haven't been told as the reader.
Yeah.
So you don't know.
Yeah.
You only know as much as she knows.
We're all coming upon the scene.
Yeah. Anyway, I found the book tremendously
amazing.
exciting. And my friend Katrina Crowe, who was in Dublin, Katrina had already read the book.
Yeah.
She'd already read the book.
Yes.
And you see, and then I had a phone, you see, because we had no phone in Enniscorthy, but we had a phone in the motor taxation office. A phone was such a luxury. I could call her about where I was in the book and she'd say, watch something. And oh my God. But she didn't tell me the plot.
Yeah.
And so it was very exciting.
That's a lovely thing.
And it gave me that thing that I've been using. I mean, even in that...
A Long Winter?
Long Winter. I'm using that method.
Yeah.
That everything is told from one point of view and it's he or she. It's not, I went, I did. It is... That morning when he first noticed that the snow was coming, he went downstairs to his father and saw that his father had already opened the door. So you're already, only one person point of view is here, not two. And you work intensely with that.
Tom, who works with us here, was saying, I'm looking forward to meeting Colm Tóibín because I studied Brooklyn in college, or in school, I should say. What's that like, having books on the curriculum for the finest young minds of generations of young Irish boys and girls?
I suppose one of the things is that often that's the only novel some people will ever read in their lives.
At all?
Yeah. So it's a huge responsibility.
It is a bit.
Yeah, imagine if it was the worst thing ever. And so the Department of Education, obviously, it's one of the great things that's happened in Ireland. I suppose the Department of Education has really started to put interesting things on the
For
English
sure,
curriculum.
and they seem to be
and you're always surprised that Paul Durkin is on this year's exam.
Yeah.
Ivan Boland, and it's happened with Brooklyn. And
I love it.
It's hard to know what to say about it other than you would love if it began to matter to people.
Well, it has. I'm making an executive decision now, looking out at Aidan, our man behind the throne, and I know Cormac is here with you as well, to invite you back at some point in the near future to partake in what we call we do a live book club, where all the people watching from around the world can ask you questions live and on the spot on Instagram and YouTube. So with your permission, when you're in town sometime.
Love that,
So then we'll go, because I want to hear you. You've told me yarns before about going to the Oscars, and you've told about, and Long Island and all there's so many stories. This has been a beautiful literary conversation, but I hope you'll come back and we will have
I'd love to do
a
that,
sort of back of the class version of this. Was very much the front of the class. You always tell the truth. We have to talk about McGill, and you're writing for the magazine and politics. It was so much, but we're close to the end. Enough time just simply to ask you the name of the autobiography you haven't written yet. What would you call the story of your life to date, it being 2025 now?
Well, I have a book called A Guest at the Feast.
Yeah.
And I suppose I'd call it A Guest at the Feast Part 2. And I love the phrase. I just made it up. A guest at the feast. I like guest feast. But I think the whole idea of I think especially with travel, and especially with me, but those things are sent to tempt us. Travel, fiction, music, paintings.
Nice temptations.
And friendship.
And great
and
temptations.
love. And they're all things that actually are a sort of feast. Like if you went into a room, there was loads of good food. It'd be a metaphor for all the things maybe that are useful and give you a lot of pleasure in life. And they don't do it all the time. And obviously traveling is not as, you have to go through airports and stuff. But I'm talking about a sort of day where, even in the cheapest resort in Spain or Portugal, and where you look out at the water and you realise, if I get into this water, it'll be silk.
Colm Tóibín, Ship in Full Sail. It's a selection of lectures and short stories.
Looks beautiful. And I did a blog every month. And which is another thing, by the way, that anyone who wants to write a book, just do a blog every month, and after 3 years you'll have a book. So don't moan anymore about you don't have time to write a book.
Maybe that's what Joyce was doing.
Yeah, but you do a blog every. Some of the blogs are 2,000 words and ends up as a book. So don't moan about not being able to write a book. That's a book.
Look, it's a pleasure. You're such a joy to chat to. Come and see us again. We'll do the bookshelf a book club live. Let's do that.
Okay.
Colm Tóibín, good luck and thank you.
Okay.
This episode was brought to you by Ballymore, a company that creates places with soul, putting arts and culture at the heart of its work, alongside creating award-winning workspaces, homes and neighbourhoods across the UK, Ireland and wider Europe. To find out more about the places Ballymore is shaping, where people can live, work and play, visit ballymoregroup.com.